And here we are with our tier list for the Premier League this season. It is coming towards the end of the season now. And so the three of us are going to rate every team's season. So, boys, we have every team here in front of us. We have 5 different categories that are being mediated.
Being edited right now as we speak.
We have top notch at the very top, good, meh, poor, and awful. Obviously, they've not all had an awful season. We're just sticking them there for now. So, boys, who's going to get the ball rolling here?
Right, I reckon we start with the starting team, which is the Bees, Brentford FC. And personally, if one of us wants to get the Premier League table up, just as a sort of a statistician, I think that Brentford are currently in 8th and 9th, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they're 9th at the moment. Currently,
9th in the table. Thank you, Charlie, the statistician, not just a quiz maker, but the
However, they've only won one of their last 4 games according to what I'm looking at, and it's. However, I would say that obviously being just to throw my opinion out early, I say considering they're still relatively new to the Premier League over the last couple of years, I think they had a good season. You know, obviously we don't. You know, I think for another video we could talk about one particular striker's fall from grace personally. However, I think Brentford have done great. I actually think, you know, that their manager is a top-notch manager. And I think that we're going to see him in the Premier League for years to come. My personal start would be that I think Brentford would have had a good to meh season.
I'll be honest. Ooh. I think Brentford have had a top-notch season.
I was going to say top-notch as well, to be honest.
Yeah, well, then maybe I was being conservative. So, yeah, I'll happily go with good. Maybe I was just panicked and I sort of went a bit like, oh, well, kind of good. I actually do think Brentford had a good season. So I'd happily go with good and above. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I'd have to say top-notch because, you know, for some of the scalps that they've claimed this season and the performances, you look at the Man United one always sticks out right at the start of the season. That set the tempo for how they were playing this season. And we can name him. He's just been banned by the FA.
It's not alleged.
So Ivan Toney has had a sublime season, Ivan Toney. Not so much on the betting front, but we'll get to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Brentford have got 56 points out of 37 games, and they're scratching with, you know, everybody. They are 2 points behind Aston Villa in 7th. Put that into perspective.
Absolutely. I'm going to say as well, top notch. The budget that they have, the second season that they're in the Premier League, I equate this to when I predicted the season at the start of the season. I put them 20th, so I've got a big egg on my face. I can't wait for that video to come out again to react to that.
Don't say egg.
Oh, no.
How dare you? You call yourself my friend.
But the Bees, top notch. It can't be anything other than that. I think that hopefully next season, from my prediction last season, it'll be correct. But, you know, without Ivan Toney, they're going to struggle. Well, I'm saying this, but they could be another team like another one we'll speak about in a second. But yeah, top notch. Nothing else. Nothing more. Nothing less. Next up on the list, go on, Cal. You're going to say something?
No. I was just going to go to the next one. So we've got Arsenal next, haven't we? Arsenal, tough. This really, it is and it isn't, because I think what they could have been is obviously I think they should have been, if they'd have won it, they'd have been one above top notch. But you know, sadly they fell short. Young team, wasn't expected to be anywhere near where they are. I don't think I wouldn't have put them second at any point before this season. They've shown that they can handle themselves. It's just pressure in those big moments. It gets to 90% of football teams, and you know they'll learn from it going on to next season. But second for Arsenal, I think that their fans would have snatched the hand off at the start of the season. But the way it went, maybe not so much. I will nominate them for good.
There's a sour taste, isn't there, between how you would feel at the end of the season compared to how you would look at it from the start. If you would have bit your hand off as an Arsenal fan to be second in the league, you know, just about touching to Man City, who have ultimately won the league now. But yeah, you're right. They were so far ahead, and me and Cal couldn't think of any other word than bottling it. And you see all the excuses from the Arsenal fans that in the last couple of weeks of them not bottling. City won the last 13 games, if it not, and they're comparing it to the Liverpool campaign of them. It's going head to head, but it's not. It's been the most pathetic end to the season, to be honest with you. In terms of they were so far ahead and they were so good until the last month, and the expectation came about, and they absolutely faltered. So
also, we took Manchester City to the final day twice,
exactly,
and we was in winning positions on both.
I'm not saying we as in I support them as well, but I agree. But I will say good.
Yeah.
If they still stuck around to the end of the season, it would have been top notch, but it can't be good. Charlie, have you got any thoughts?
I think obviously yes. But to keep it short and concise, trying to think of as a neutral. If I was a neutral or I was even an Arsenal fan, I would say that if you gave an Arsenal fan second place at the start of the season, they would have bit not only your hand off but your whole arm. So I think I'm being genuinely serious. So I think that
I was waiting for something. That's all. I was just waiting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So given a young team, and pains me, but I want to try and speak fairly. Arsenal have been fantastic this season. Some of the best football, certainly in the early stages of the season. So I would say that even then, second is top notch. However, given their fall from grace and bottling it, which of course I relish in, but I would say that genuinely Arsenal have had a great season. Yes, being 240 plus games at the top of the league and then not finishing top. But I certainly would say if you guys want to put, I'd be magnanimous to say if you put them top notch, I think that for Arsenal, top notch and second place, I wouldn't grumble with. But I'll always also more than happily take good, because I'll humbly say they've been very good this season, to say the least.
That's so nice.
Carl, what are you saying then? Seeing good or top notch? Because it could still well be.
Yeah, it could. Listen,
it's like in between, isn't it?
It's the way that the season goes. You have to take that into account in an end of season thing, I think. And so for that reason, it's good, I think. We can
always move a couple of here and there at the end of it, but at the minute it's the very echelon of good. But I mean, as an Arsenal fan, are you grumbling at a podcast that has under 100 subscribers when you're second in the table? I'm not too sure.
Probably.
If you can, let us know in the podcast. Let us know in the comments below. Next up on our list is another team that could potentially be in the top four at the end of the season, which is one game away, by the way. Manchester United. I will start with this one. I think they've had a good season. They had a horrendous start to the season. I've completely forgot about that 4-0 loss to Brentford at the start of the season. They were a joke.
Followed a Brighton defeat as well.
Exactly. I think, and then there was that crunch game really early on against Liverpool, isn't there?
Don't stop.
Yeah, it's all right.
What was the score again, Carl? What was the score?
3-1. They beat us. Thank you. Oh, we could talk about what happened later on in the season if you want.
To be honest, I'm not even joking. I actually was going for that result.
Could you imagine? I was joking with a United fan, a friend of mine. It was only the other day, actually, about imagine if those fixtures had reversed. So imagine they went at the Brighton 4-0 and then Liverpool beat them 7-0. Like, he'd have been out of a job.
He'd be out. He'd be out. Absolutely be out. But to go from there, he's won a cup already. He could have 2 by the end of the season. It's been a very solid season for him. People say his expectations are higher than they are, but I think that it can be nothing other less or more than good. If either you want to disagree, they can do.
No, can't.
Okay. Next one.
Yeah.
I think you could debate the size of the club and what their ambitions maybe should or could be, but I think overall it was a good season for them.
Is it ever a good season if your biggest rivals batter you 7-0 though?
Well, yeah, and your other rivals win the league.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think they'll
I think good. I think we can all agree on good.
Okay.
Whatever, move on.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk about him.
Charlie, want to start the next one?
Yeah, well, yes, I will, but it's also a very interesting. Yeah, I think West Ham. It's an interesting team to talk about, because I think that I'll happily say that I'm a bit confused by them. I think they've had some incredible highs and also some incredible lows and dismal kind of performances. I don't know really what's going on with West Ham. Obviously, they've had a great run, or they had a great run in the Europa Conference League, and I have no love lost for West Ham. I would probably say that they. In fact, I'm saying it by rambling. They're a meh team. It's a meh team.
Right. I see. This is where we need to be constant, and we can't contradict ourselves here because we've put Arsenal in good and not top notch because of the story of the season and not just because of expectations beforehand. Obviously, West Ham have finished in a great position before in the league. This year, teetered around the relegation zone the entire season, but they end this season safe and in a European final. For me, I can't put them in good. I think I might have to agree with you on meh, but it almost feels like if you said to a West Ham fan a few weeks ago, you're going to be safe and you're going to be in the final, I think they'd have been like, oh, what a year that's been, what a season. But you can't really put it in good when they've been so poor in the Premier League and they've got 40 points. But they're in a European Cup final. It's tough. It's tough.
I always see it as an expectation. This Europa Conference League, West Ham were always going to get far in it. Don't know whether they were going to get to the final or not, but they were always going to get far into it. To go from 5th, 6th, teetering on Champions League last couple of seasons to now 15th, 14th, where they are now, I just think it can't be anything more than poor.
Could I quickly throw out, because I don't want to waste too much time because I want us to crack on, but does the winning or losing of that final change hugely their standing?
Yeah. You've got surely winning a trophy is a good season.
Surely. Who's it against? Fiorentina, innit?
It's
Fiorentina.
Basel, isn't it? Oh, did they beat? Oh, they beat Basel, didn't they? In the end.
Yeah. So.
West Ham, Fiorentina.
Let's say they win that. Where would they be?
Good. They've won a trophy.
But does it?
Yeah.
But we're talking about the Premier League season here.
I know.
True.
Well, we also talked about Man United winning the league.
It's a valid point. We are talking about the Premier League.
Quick vote, then. I'm going to go with poor.
I'm going to go meh.
Yeah.
Meh. So meh. Go on meh.
Yeah. Arsenal seems like a harsh one now, doesn't it? We'll definitely change that. Next one, which is going to be quite a simple one, I think. Newcastle United, 3rd in the table, already in the Champions League spot, top notch.
Simple as. And, their fans are all over Twitter and talking about it all the time. So we don't have to talk about it because you already have.
Absolutely.
Top notch. I think it's agreed that everything considered top notch season.
I still alive.
Bournemouth, completely the other side of the country. And to be honest with you, where they are now, they were just about getting to a Chelsea position, which we'll get onto in a little bit as well. But for Gary O'Neill not to be nominated for that Manager of the Season award is a disgrace. I think that he's been one of the best managers in the league this season. To get a Bournemouth side that has probably got the lowest budget in the league, everyone predicted them to be 20th other than me. I put them 19th, but it's still the same thing. Yeah. To get relegated at the end of the season, not even to be close to the relegation zone in the last 10 games, shows how well he's done. And I think it's good, and I think it could be touching top notch.
I think if everybody, like you say, everybody predicted them to go down. Everybody said that.
Yeah.
Gary O'Neill, what he's done, turned it around. It is top notch. Bournemouth staying in the Premier League, I'd argue, is top notch. Whatever the story, however they do it, that is top notch for me.
I'd happily agree. If you guys both good, I'd say it's slightly unfair, and I think top notch is, given the circumstances, perhaps maybe high praise, but I definitely think, like you're saying, given what he was, the task he was given, I think Gary O'Neill's done an incredible job. So I'd be happy with you. Top notch or good.
Let's not forget that Liverpool beat them 9-0 this season.
Yes.
Is it 9? Yeah, exactly. So,
we're pissing in the pocket of Liverpool right now, aren't we? Gosh, 9-0, 7-0.
Try to score some goals and we'll do it about your team.
That's all we did.
Hey, listen. That's a different podcast. Some records broken by our man with the big tongue. Don't be silly. Come on.
Oh, God.
That's your words, not mine, Cal. You always said.
I didn't.
Not on a record.
Yeah.
Man City, anyone?
About these, really? Oh, okay.
Right, Man City expectation. Charlie, do you think that they should be in good or top notch?
I mean, I do think I do feel like again, you can kind of go down a rabbit hole with some of the external stuff that's going on with Man City, with some of the charges they've been given, and I have my future father-in-law, in 9 weeks tomorrow. My father-in-law, who's a big Man City fan, and he obviously lived through some of the hard times. We have some good-natured banter, but essentially, I'm very much on the fence with Man City. Of course, they've had a great season. They've won it again, and they're on for the treble. However, again, a bit like when we talked about West Ham with the final, if Man City go on and win the treble, this is above a top-notch season. However, I do think that, you could be a bit of a sour grape and say, well, they should expect nothing less with the kind of money they've spent over the years. And they have got arguably the greatest manager, some would say, who's challenging Fergie in different ways. I don't necessarily agree, but I don't know.
I must be a sour grape then, because that's exactly what I think. I think it's just a good season. I think they should do this every year.
Well, yeah, but then at the same time, that's what I'm saying. Unless he wins the treble, because if he wins the Champions League, that was obviously the thing that eluded them. So, however, I would say that the way they dismantled Real Madrid, and I'll give them credit for that, and I do give Guardiola credit, because I think we could go on it I would actually like to do a separate video potentially on Guardiola's change of tactics over the last couple of years. I do think that he has shown a different string to his bow, which is to evolve with the players he's got. However, he's got those players at his disposal, but then should we scrutinise him for that?
No, I wouldn't scrutinise him for it. He's joined a football club that has that embarrassment of riches, and I think you just have to look at the bookies every season. They are the favourite in every competition that they enter every single season, and it's not sour grapes, not anything like that. I know how good they are. I watched them; they're an incredible football team, and they're revolutionising football under Pep Guardiola. But I just feel like they should do this every year. I feel like they've done a domestic one before, and they come close to that pretty much every year. Champions League has evaded them, but don't forget they've been to a Champions League final before. They're in and around everything that they're involved in. For me, it's hard because it's ticked all the boxes of what they want from the start of the season, but that's their goal for the end of the season.
If they get the treble, I would say it's a top-notch season by all accounts, including their own standards. I would happily say, obviously, we're doing this slightly earlier than that, where that's decided. I'd happily go with good, because I agree with Cal. I do think that when you're a team like City, I couldn't believe, I said to Beth, I said, when they brought on Mahrez, Foden, and Alvarez, I said that's just the epitome of for me, of someone who supports obviously a team like Spurs, for whatever we're going on. The fact that front three they brought on would get into any team, I would argue, in the world, right? They would get on that. Foden, Alvarez, and Mahrez, any team in the Premier League, and most, if not all, teams in Europe would die to have them on the starting 11. It shows the wealth of riches they have. So, I think that without going on too much, I would happily say that in this position, while they haven't won the treble, I'd go good. Dom?
Cal, what are you saying? Good?
Yeah, good for me.
Cal, what are you saying? Good, sorry. Good, yeah, good.
Good.
Let's rattle through these, because we're sort of losing track of time a little bit. Because obviously, Man City expectations, they should be doing everything to, be good, because they are the best team in the world, like Cal said. But things off the field also didn't help this season, which could potentially affect next season as well. Leeds United, another team that, I've been through quite a few managers this season. Quite frankly, I will quickly say they've been poor.
I would say that they've been awful. They are awful to watch. Right. Yeah.
Forget about the awful.
I like Leeds, but awful.
Let's just think. To be honest with you, Jesse Marsch was okay. He wasn't great, wasn't fantastic. But since they got rid of him, they have been the worst team, one of the worst teams the Premier League has ever seen defensively.
Exactly.
So, you know what? I should put them in awful.
I agree. Actually, no, I agree. Awful.
Crystal Palace, quite a simple one, isn't it, guys? Patrick Vieira came in, did nothing after the turn of the year. Didn't win in 12, I don't think.
Nearly got him in trouble, didn't he?
They got him in trouble, but then Roy Hodgson came in. Granted, they had an easy run, but you're only there. You got to win them. You're only there with what you dealt with. Mid-table, Charlie. Is it a simple one of meh?
Yes, completely. The fact that I have nothing to say, and that's very rare, I'd say meh.
This is expected from Crystal Palace, isn't it? A mid-table season.
They'll be happy with that.
They'll be happy with that again.
Yeah, definitely.
Didn't do, and I think they agree with that as well. A meh season. They were potentially at one point in trouble, but that was like 12 games to go towards the end of the season. But yeah, they've not really done much. Neither. It's boring is probably the best way to put them, but probably what they'd like themselves. Right, okay. Wolverhampton Wanderers, Cal. You've got a little bit of a fondness for them.
No. I have fondness for a human being that once existed in Wolverhampton. Thankfully, has been taken away from that. I hate Wolves.
from one W to the other, from Wolves to Warrington.
Their fans are so annoying. Oh God, everything about that football club I dislike. And looking at the table, 41 points going into the final day. You look at a strong Premier League season, they're right in amongst it. I think they've been awful. And I think they're awful to watch. They play anti-rubbish football, defensive-minded at all times. Honestly, they are the one team that if they're on the telly, I won't watch them regardless who it is, if it's not Liverpool. So I'd put awful or poor just by looking at the points tally and putting it next to other seasons and how bad it's actually been. Just because the standards have dropped this season down there doesn't mean that them getting 41 points is any more of an achievement. So I'd say awful or poor, and I'm happy with either.
I think for me, my lack of interest in Wolves is summed up by the fact that I've just spent the last 10 seconds researching who their manager is because I genuinely fell asleep. Yeah, exactly. As I've just found out, and even though I can't be asked to say his name, so I'm just going to say that's a pretty poor season.
So in that 2 minutes of talking about Wolverhampton, we've got a shorts that I'm just going to clip up and put on to the YouTube channel from Cal.
Come at me.
And also, Charlie doesn't know how the fuck to say his name. So I'm very
unconscious. Move on.
Is it still Mick McCarthy? Aston Villa next on the agenda. A bit of a Jekyll and Hyde sort of situation from Aston Villa's point of view, isn't it? Steven Gerrard, probably one of the worst managers we've seen in the Premier League.
Jesus.
Hey, God, I had a chill there. Should I close the door? That was really chill.
It's not like talking about Wolves. Don't come at
him and Lampard. Come on, him and Lampard have been terrible. Come on, let's not pretend.
He's a bit better than Lampard, though, isn't he?
It's in that category, though, isn't he? If he goes and doesn't the same thing again, throw him in there.
That is good,
steady. Looking at the table right now, though, I think it's got to be good, isn't it? I don't think it can be anything less than that.
Seventh at the
moment. They're on the verge from being in a bad place. They're on the verge of European football, and they're pretty much.
Well, they can't get sixth, so they're guaranteed minimum seventh.
So they're getting European Conference League football, aren't they?
I think for for Aston Villa, I think that's a pretty good. Conference League. I get Aston Villa are they're always going to be there. They're always going to be there. They're always going to be mid-table. This is upper mid-table. So I'd say for them, it's a good season.
Yeah, good season. Well done, the Villa.
Well,
fuck off, Wolves.
Okay, now we realise where his cheerleaders lies. Bloody hell.
Go on, Charlie. Do you want to start with the next club? Because I know that you're...
Oh, God, leave them there. Just do Forest.
I'll happily say if there was Dom.
Forest next.
Make a new one.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest. I'll happily come out Nottingham Forest because there's not one below awful. If there was a category below awful, it would be Chelsea. So
there will be shortly. Just put Chelsea.
Just put Chelsea. And I would say,
oh my God.
Yes, go on, Dom. We'll happily wait here and wait for you to put Chelsea.
You can put them 2 behind if you want.
Yeah, just take it. Just put Chelsea. League 1. Oh, League 2, even more. Oh,
get Chelsea underneath. Oh,
I'm thinking about Sunderland.
Oh my God, this is like, let's get rid of this row.
Right, so Nottingham Forest, I think meh. I'm going to say meh straight away.
Spent a lot of money. Spent a lot of money on a lot of players. But
yes, yeah.
newly promoted and safe.
But they're also they're safe. So for a team, yeah, like that, I'd say it's between poor and meh. But by their own standards, I'd say they might think it's good because they stayed up. But I'd say meh.
Meh for me.
I'm gonna. Well, the votes are being given now for meh, but I would say good. No matter how much you spend in the Premier League, look at what Fulham did a couple of seasons ago. Doesn't matter what you do, as long as you survive, and they survived before the end of the season. So well done, Forest, and well done for doing it the way they did, because they obviously beating Arsenal, even though we said they were not very great at the end of the season, still had to beat them, and they are the top 2 in the league, aren't they? So congrats to them. Forest. Well done, Forest.
Dom, do you want to do Southampton?
Southampton have been probably. It's weird because they've spent more.
We've let the shackles off this season, this podcast, mate. Just say what you want.
It's a weird. For some reason I have a soft spot for Southampton. Maybe because of how they spent in the summer with all the sort of youth, the prospects that they've signed. I just want them to flourish a little bit more. Lavia looks like a great signing. Bella Kopchuk looks like a quality signing. And they've spent more this summer, than they had done in the previous 10 summers or seasons. So it doesn't matter how much you spend. Look at Forest, like I said, it's how you spend it. And they spent too much on too young, and it's quite clearly been too naive. They've gone through 3 managers, including the lovely Nathan Jones, which he wasn't here long enough, to be honest with you. I wish he was there longer. If Blackburn, if John Dahl does go, I really hope we get Nathan Jones just for a bit of a banter season. It could happen.
No, you don't.
But it has been, quite frankly, awful.
Yeah, I agree. They've got 24 points, and I don't know how. I don't know where they have been.
I think for a team that's been they've kind of been established, not majorly, but they're definitely a Premier League team.
10 seasons.
Yeah, we did a segment a while ago about teams that you'd expect to be in like the all-time Premier League 20. I'd say that Southampton, although not guaranteed, I would still have them in the argument. So to finish 20th as an established Premier League team, that's not a very good finish for them, if you ask me. And given what you guys have said, it's not a great season. I'd put awful.
24 points, by the way. Is it still 24?
Yeah,
24. More, a little bit.
That's
relegated even 2-3 games before the end of the season is always an awful season. Cal, next team.
Yeah, it's Everton, and I think I imagine you'd think I'd take more pleasure in this, but it's a strange one with Everton with the amount of money that's swirled around and the crisis that club's in when it comes to the ownership model. It's you almost feel sorry for them. But it's been an awful season. And a club like Everton, you talk about established. That's an established football club. That's a storied Premier League football club. And they could go down on Sunday. Simple as that. Very easily possible that they could go down.
Does that change? Because I think it's most definitely an awful season. I think that I think I agree with you to a point. Even if whether they're relegated or not, they can't really keep their chins up to a point.
No. It's awful regardless. Whether they stay up or not, for Everton, it's awful.
Yeah, it's been a steady decline since Moyes, essentially. The state of the club has been heavily criticised since the last 5 seasons, especially on and off the field. Sean Dyche, granted, a great manager, the size of Everton, should he be there? But don't know. It's debatable, isn't it? He's been a manager of Burnley and Watford and all them clubs.
I think
is Everton a league above them? You know, it's not to be harsh on Sean Dyche. He's an amazing manager, great manager.
Yeah, I know
but
exactly
Everton
what you
should
mean.
be a club that realistically should be in the top 6 most seasons, and you know they are in a different league, especially with the new stadium that they've got. Expectations should be a lot more than what they're doing right now. I think they had less than 40 points in the last 3 seasons, something like that, which is quite frankly not it's just.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think it's awful.
And Everton fans will agree. I think that if Everton go down, that'll probably be the best season for Everton fans that they've had in 10 years in the Championship, because they're going to be winning every game. Yeah. Whereas now they're just having 2 weeks of happiness, which is imagine that in a year as an Everton fan.
It's not good. And like you say, with the Wolves stuff, obviously they can come for me all they want when this video goes out. But the Everton, I can't. It's hard. They're our main rivals. I enjoy playing against them. I like beating them. So yeah, it's been an awful season, and we'll have to see what happens on Sunday, because there's a real possibility they could go down.
Looking forward to that one. But next up is Fulham FC. So I apologise if I cut out a little bit again, guys. Fulham FC, quite frankly, quite simply, with Mitrovic up front, not really doing as much as they can do. Is it top notch or is it good?
It's top notch. They are certified 10th place, and they've never looked like going down once all season.
And they've been on the beach basically for the last month and a half.
Yeah, still winning games. They've been absolutely brilliant. A breath of fresh air, I'm sure, for all their fans, because Fulham, they were in that yo-yo club territory where they'd be up and then they'd be down, and they haven't looked once like going down. We played them on the opening day, drew 3-3, and then you think they've got a proper little team going on here. And even with the Mitrovic stuff that's happened, they've stood firm and been brilliant. So yeah, top notch for me, Fulham.
Yeah, I think that given that they've kind of flown under the radar, but given what their expectations would have been, this is a great season for them. So yeah, fantastic.
Just a little quick one as well, to talk about the gap between the Premier League and the Championship, because people think that it's quite a distant gap. 3 clubs that have come up, Bournemouth, Fulham and Forest, have stayed up. The 3 clubs that went down only so far, and only the only club, I'm saying this myself, the only club that went down that are now coming back up are Burnley. The other 2 sides stayed down. So there is a clear mix between the clubs now, and there's not a distance, and that sort of conversation needs to end right now. So Brighton, Hove Albion, this one's quite a simple one. And to be honest with you, are they the most? It's between Newcastle, Brentford, and Brighton.
I think obviously for Newcastle, of course, Champions League after 20 years. For Brighton to do it for the first time ever, this season will be remembered for the rest of Brighton fans' lives. We know a Brighton fan, Dom, and how emotional and made up he was.
I've had him on the channel. They
are the number one top notch. It has been their season, Brighton's season, and absolutely brilliant and made up for them. They're a nuisance to play against. They're horrible to play against, but knocked us out the cup. But just to watch it and to watch what they do, Tony Bloom and Paul Barber, year after year, their stars are picked away from them and they're replaced almost like it's a laboratory in their training ground. So
I think for me, you're totally right. The only potential, maybe slightly pessimistic view is, I wonder if a couple of their key people, players, McAllister and the man at the helm, De Zerbi, I wonder if they might not get poached this summer. So, but that's just a testament to how well they've done. So
yeah, and even. I mean, I'd love to link it to Blackburn, but I can't do it this time. Our player of the season last season was Van Heck, and he's only played 3 or 4 games at centre-back for Brighton this season, and he's another one that will be in the pipeline come next season, because he was our player of the season in the team that finished 7th in the Championship, so he's ready for the Premier League as it is. The current playing City, I'm not too sure on the results, but we'll find that out soon. But yeah, top notch. Well done, Brighton. Well done, Liam. I know you might be watching this.
Yes, well done, mate.
Well done, mate. Next up is a team that I can again link to Blackburn because we've beaten them. Leicester City, and we could have beaten them 5-0. So I remember watching that Liverpool versus Leicester game. It could have easily been 8-0. Yeah. And I think they are aptly placed, aren't they, right now?
Yeah, they should stay where they are. They are the biggest. Well, Chelsea, obviously, but Leicester, for me, is probably the shock of the season in terms of how bad. I think we knew it'd be bad, and it was a decline. And Rodgers, down tools, and a lot of their players seem to have this season. I didn't think it'd be this bad. I thought they'd be in a fight. I didn't think they'd be pretty much nailed on down on the final day. Sad to see after what they've achieved over the past few years. But another team I won't miss. So salutations, Leicester City.
I agree. I agree. Couldn't put it better myself. I think everything Cal said, I agree completely with.
I think it's just in terms of, I think that they sort of gambled on the fact of not spending in the summer to spend double next summer, but they'll have to do that in the Championship as it stands currently. So I'm not saying this to be mean. It's the truth. Look. I'll get it up right now. It's right there. It's either them or Everton, essentially, isn't it? Sorry, get the thing back up. Last two teams quite relevant. It's quite ironic that they're last two.
Almost like we planned it.
Carl or Charlie, because obviously you two can talk about your own teams. Ooh. I will briefly talk about them now. Tottenham, to be honest with you, the absolute circus off the field between Conte, Daniel Levy, Kane potentially leaving at the end of the season, nothing going right on the pitch. It was perfect for the first few games, and it has been horrendous since. I will put them in poor. I don't think it can be anything more than that. I think that they finished fourth in the league last season, and it's just been a steady decline since. Liverpool, on the other hand, well, not on the other hand, again, to be honest with you, poor. It's been polar opposite, really. You had a horrendous start, and you've had a decent end to it. You've had a good end to it, but it's you give yourself such a climb, such a bloody climb from where you came from. If you get top four, it's meh, because that's the expectation, isn't it? At the end of the day. So yeah, to you guys, I'm going to put you both in poor.
I'll jump in and I'll be not just magnanimous but also honest and say that I can defend Spurs, and if given enough time to bore you guys, I could put us up to meh. However, I would say that we are poor. I have been poor. I could think of many arguments to say otherwise. However, I would also have to concede with meh. I'd say Liverpool. Spurs are poor. I think Spurs are poor. I think given their own standards, like I said, I could argue an argument, but I'm not going to. We have been poor. Liverpool, I would say, are one better. They're meh. And I'd say that because they had an awful start. However, they've made very good progress. However, by Liverpool standards, their progress is a little too late, in my opinion. A team of Liverpool's caliber and stature and heritage that I know I joke about, but like Liverpool go on about the history of their club and how great they are. I think they haven't had a good season at all. However, they have picked it up. So I'd say they've had a meh season. Spurs have had a poor season.
I would say they've both been poor. I think for Liverpool standards, we were 2 games away from the quadruple last season, and to be 5th, pretty much nailed on 5th, it's poor. It's poor, and hopefully it gets a lot better next season, I'd say. And that's
so there we go. There we have it. Just about does it. And just before we end, do we put Arsenal top notch?
No.
Because look at the teams above them. Look at what they've done, and look at the feeling
it's comparative.
Arsenal should have won the league.
Yeah, that's or at least been fighting for it at the end of the day. The very last game.
However, I think you have to. I think it's that age-old concept. Ask a fan at the start of the season what they'd want. Compare it to what they've been through. That's 2 different scenarios. Arsenal would say at the start of the season they'd take second and bite your whole body off. However, given what they've thrown away, they would say it's a bit anticlimactic that they couldn't take the league.
Absolutely, and there is the table that we've got. Obviously, we didn't speak about Chelsea because it's obvious what we were going to say. We've spoken about all season. Yeah, but come on. It's funny that we don't say anything. If anybody has anything to disagree with or agree with, please let us know in the comments below. Please like the video as well. We do appreciate it because this will go out as its own little video in the podcast as well. But guys, this has been a long discussion on it. But But a very
all day.
a very good one as well. I think that it needed to happen, and I'm looking forward to the more that we do on this.
If you like what you've just seen there and you want to see more content like this, make sure you give us a like and a subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TalkNonsensePod.